What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the FitBiz podcast. Jordan here with two friends, clients. We got April and Arthur Rodriguez, and I'm really excited to introduce you all to these two powerhouses. Quick little backstory. So they reside out of Texas. They started their business just in April of 2022. So it's not even a year old. And they've had a really impressive run. They've gone from basically zero to now they just had an $80,000 month in January. And there's a lot of cool nuances here. They work together as a couple. We have a husband and wife partnership, which obviously Aaron and I are really fans of. And it's cool because, April went from stay-at-home mom, Arthur went from working at Amazon to quitting his job, going all in. And we're going to cover all this. And we're going to talk about their offer because it's very unique, very niche, very specialized. I think that's a huge reason why you guys have had so much success. But enough about me rambling. How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. We're good.
Right on. Well, let's just start here. Let's just open it up, and I'll ask a very vague and general question. Right? Tell me your entrepreneurial journey. Like, what led you to deciding like this is a problem I want to solve? I want to build my own business. I want to do it together. Like, what led you guys to this point? And if y'all want to just kind of go back and forth, Aaron and I interrupt each other all the time on podcasts, so feel free to just bounce back.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Try to avoid the interruption.
No, it'll happen. Totally. Yeah. So I've honestly always been like a serial entrepreneur. I would try different things when money was tight and I was just creative. So but I've always been super into fitness, and Arthur has too. Our fitness journey together has really evolved over the decade that we've been together. And last year we actually finished at like Christmas time, we finished 75 hard, and we were like, you know what, we can really help other people if we just get out of our little comfort zone and get certified in what we need to get certified in and just go for it, go all in. Do you want to share some of
So to clarify, she said last year, that was 2021, that holiday season. During that period, that's when we were doing 75 hard. And we both, hit it hard. I was in the military, so I got kind of in that mindset already. But April, she like something clicked in her. And so before that, in 2013, I wanted to do this, but then just started my career. And so no, I never got around to it. I saw that April's, had that flip of a switch. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put all my faith in April. I'm gonna make sure that she gets taken care of. So for Christmas, I bought an LLC. And started it all out. And then I was like, here's this thing. I want you to run with it. And then, come around April of 2022, she took off and it started blowing up on us.
Interesting. So, there's always a dichotomy between successful couples where one is a little bit more of the fast starter, like the idea person, the sort of like the vision, where you usually have a counterpart that's a little bit more like implementation, follow through. Would you guys say that's kind of the dynamic? Like April, you're more follow through. Arthur, you're like, let's go, let's run.
Yeah. Well, Arthur's more like, you got to take risks. And I grew up, and this is where IFCA has stepped in and changed my world with just really bad money mindset of like very safe moves. I just want to make enough money to live comfortably. And Arthur has always been like, no, we have to act on this and this. So he's been the one that is like, there's the risk and there's the reward. And he's always been like, you got to take the risk if you want the reward. So he pulled me out of my comfort zone, and I just had to lean on him while also like feeling that fire burning inside of myself to be like, no, this is actually going to happen. We're going to do this. And part of it too, I actually hired my first coach in 2021. And I worked with her for an entire year, and just seeing her success, and she worked with y'all too, seeing her success, I was like, you know what? I really don't see the cons in this. Like, you're weighing out the pros and cons, and I was like, there's no cons.
Yeah, and that's just fantastic. And it's funny how, especially somebody that you love and respect and that you have a deep bond with, if that person believes in you, there's just something about that, right? Especially if you have like it seems like Arthur, you saw something in April that maybe she didn't see in herself. And when that happens, it's almost like you have a responsibility to like be that person, right? You don't want to let your person down. I think that's a powerful driver. Would you say that was kind of a little bit of what was going
on? Yeah, I would say that's about it right there. As far as April, the way she sees it, I don't think that she still sees it in herself, and sometimes I have to call it out, right? And so I'm like, hey, you've got this. You're letting yourself down by not just going for it, not gunning for it. And she's I wouldn't say she's all talk. She's talk, but I like just give her a little nudge to keep going.
That's amazing. I heard something recently, and I forget what like research firm this was out of, but somebody like analyzed successful people, and this might have even been like interviewing billionaires or something. And they were trying to find like common traits of wildly successful people, and they found something that's really interesting. It's like three things that were really common. Number one, it's like almost like a little bit of a superiority complex in the sense that you believe you can do whatever you want to do, right? Like you believe that you can do it. Number two is the ability to like stay to not be distracted, to not jump around to every opportunity, to shift paths constantly. And the number three is deep insecurity, like not feeling worthy, worthy, like personally. And I think that's a powerful way to think about it, because these two things kind of fight with each other. It's like, I believe I can do whatever, but I'm also like, I don't know if I believe I deserve it. Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
100%.
that totally, and that's me. I'm like, I have this inner struggle too, where I'm a middle child, and part of me wants to be like
Same.
the one that retires my parents. So I feel like, you know what, they're gonna be so proud of me. They'll be most proud of me if I'm like the first millionaire in the family. But then there's the other side of me where, again, growing up with like this mindset that's kind of like that poor mindset or middle class mindset of just like getting by on just enough with like just comfort. And so there's the other part of me where we're hitting these big months, and I'm like, I don't deserve this. Like I get inside my own head, and I'm like, nope, I don't deserve this. So there is that struggle. I totally feel that.
Yeah, I think that you should you should really overstate and almost overestimate your future potential, but also like you should be constantly surprised by your accomplishments. I feel like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But then also part of your brain is like, but I know I can do so much more. So cool. Let's talk about this. Run me through like what actually caused you to want to commit to getting help, right? Because I think you guys are unique that you didn't really, waste the time and the idiocracy and the frustrations. I mean, like, nah, we can do it on our own. It's like, how do we just go find a roadmap to implement, right? Like what led to that way of thinking, and what caused you to be like, this is what we're going to do?
I've tried other things in the past and have failed because I didn't have a roadmap. And so I had been following Erin since like 2013. So since like the beginning. And so I had a lot of trust in her. And so when she switched from like just the fitness content to then the business coaching content, I started paying attention as I was like, this is something I want to do eventually. And then when we were like, hey, we're all in, we had made a wise investment in the past, and that was our first house purchase in 2017 when it was still kind of a seller's market, but we were still appreciating the value and everything. We sold that house, we had a nest egg, and we were like, hey, we need to invest this money. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that IFCA would get me a return on that investment. And that's where I was telling him, like, we had our discovery call with IFCA, and we still didn't bite the bullet for like another month. And then we were just like, you know what? We're not going to do this any other way. I interviewed a couple other business coaches who were a lot cheaper, but I still chose y'all because I was so confident that on that return of our investment.
Yeah, that's powerful. And it's just the ability to make a decision, man. And once you start seeing the power of making decisions, like ability to do that, it becomes very like habitual. And that's just going to keep like running you guys like north, man. That's really cool. What, let me just ask you some questions about your business. Like fill me in a little bit, because I know I was you and I chatted a lot early in your guys like journey here, but I've been out of the loop a little bit, right? So I know you guys have been able to hire a team now. Walk me through the details.
Sure. I'll talk a little bit, and then I'll let Arthur talk a little bit. But we have 3 assistant coaches. One of them is our head coach. And then I have a setter, I have a closer. I don't do any sales calls anymore. And we have an executive assistant, and that embodies our team. And then I'll let you talk a little bit.
Yeah. And so as far as the way April and I split things down the middle.
That was my next question, is how do you guys discern responsibilities?
Yeah. So she takes on like the marketing and sales side. Her face is a lot prettier than mine, so she sells a lot. So yeah, and she relates to our ICA, which is, women with hypothyroidism. And that's something that April's dealt with the last almost 10 years. So it was a no-brainer for us to go down that route and with that niche. But yeah, to bring it back to that first assistant coach that is now our head coach, we knew we needed someone that was like gonna impact our business, going to be our I called her our pit bull the first time that I was talking to her. I was like, I need someone that's going to be out there, fighting for us, and also keeping in the troops, like wrangling in the troops. And so she's been knocking it out. She's been a blessing for us to have on our team. I'm super proud to have that first head coach. But the other two assistant coaches, they're doing outstanding. They're doing great work, and they're learning a lot. And so that's what we wanted the most out of the assistant coaches. And then we have the sales person, and she comes from a sales family. So I knew she already had that bone in her. It was just more of building her up to have the confidence to start selling. And so with April and myself, we just kept speaking into her, and eventually she went from being our original executive assistant to the salesperson. And
Very
now,
cool.
we're building up that second executive assistant.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, just to like kind of define our roles. He's more like CEO, overseeing everything, managing.
Skip that part.
I can get hot tempered, not in a mean way, but just like this is my baby. And so sometimes I get emotional. And he has to like really bring me back down to earth and like just bring more light to the situation. He's very, even keeled, things like that. And my role is really just to try to like inspire our team, inspire our audience, and marketing. And so we really just kind of even each other out in our roles in the business.
Powerful.
I think one thing that we took from you guys was the what was it? Move first, and then
just shoot first, ask questions later kind of thing.
So she was doing a lot of that at the beginning, and I was just going in behind her, organizing everything. And so I had taken on a lot more of the administrative stuff. Eventually I found myself kind of helping on that end, doing the admin, doing the tech, and then building up the team, or training up the team and building them up. And so I kind of found my niche to be more of helping on the administrative side and the business things.
Man, that's really badass. And I noticed some things that you had said, Arthur, that make me suspect that you had some leadership roles within the military.
Yeah. Military, police, and then at Amazon as well.
So like those things translate so well. I mean, just the idea of like knowing how to build trust with an employee, and to the idea, there's this book called Whale Done, and it just talks about like, they use the example of training like whales and like basically SeaWorld types. So like, how do you train animals to do what you want? It's all positive reinforcement, right? Where I'm like you, I'm a little bit more like you, April, where like I just get hot-headed and pissed. I'm like, why the fuck aren't you doing the things we told you to do? It's just not, it just doesn't work that way. So it's amazing that you guys have that balance, right? So what about like recruiting? Was that something that you'd had some experience with, Arthur? Like just the recruiting ideas is something that can't be taught overnight.
Right. No, I didn't have much experience in that realm. But I did. I'm good at being able to perceive what people have, the potential that they have. And so that's kind of why I took on the interview process as well, as just to see who was out there, who was available. And then
well, there are two like levers to leadership, and you guys have both of them. One side, I heard Colin Powell say this one time. He's like, sometimes the best leaders are the type of people that you follow, even if it's just out of curiosity, because they're so enthused. They have such a powerful vision. You're like, I don't know where they're going, but I'm following them. Right. But then you have more tactical, methodical leaders who are emotionally regular, who are steady, and who you just build this deep trust with, So the fact that you guys have both those things, I think is a superpower.
Yeah.
Well, what challenges have you guys run up against? Because taking a company from 0 to 80K months in, where are we at now? What, 6 months, 7 months?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there have been some challenges. So fill me in on like some roadblocks you guys faced. And then if it's related, like how were we able to help you kind of break past those roadblocks? Yeah,
absolutely. So when we first launched, first of all, I've never done like a blunt post or anything. Like I just basically said, hey, like, we're ready for you. My wait list filled up with over like 1,000 women. And it was almost like I didn't know what to do with all of them and how to really nurture all of those leads. And at first, my biggest constraint was burnout. Like I was doing all the sales calls, the coaching, growing in my own knowledge, because I was a first-time coach and I'm working with these fragile women. They have hypothyroidism. They're, been burnt by a lot of other coaches. I didn't want to do them wrong by any means. And so I was working a lot the first several months until we made our first hire with our assistant coach. And in that amount of time, I feel like my deliverables have gotten a lot better. But in the beginning, you're just learning. Like, there's a lot more messy action than I like to admit. But having that success coach, and Heather's been with us from IFCA through Legacy, has been just so helpful because she gives us so much insight and be like, oh, this is actually pretty normal. I am not able to always hop on the calls that IFCA offers live, but I re-listen to all of them. And just the way that you guys have helped us troubleshoot different scenarios, even and when we were going to promote our first AC into a head coach position, and just kind of learning how to delegate all of that was so helpful for my mental health, because we have 3 kids too. So we have 3 kids, 8 and under. And I couldn't be this burnt out mama. We had to figure stuff out. And so that was the biggest constraint, was burnout, and then learning how to delegate. And now here we are, we still work a decent amount, but not nearly as much as we were in the beginning.
Yeah, I'd say that it for me, it came down to 2 things: the kids. We have a baby, and I call her a baby because she's my baby, but she's now 2 years old. But she was running around, and she'd keep me from being able to do anything. And obviously she'd keep April from being able to do anything. So I'd just take her with me wherever I went, and then would just be sitting there on the laptop and then get whatever I can get done while I've got the baby on me. But the second thing would be culture. Is still refining culture. Even to this day, we're continuously building on culture, making sure that our culture is right within the business, and making sure that we're the ones that initiate that culture, that we still nurture that.
So here's and for those of you guys listening here, what I'm showing April and Arthur is an image that shows how normal business trajectory occurs. So, shit, I just lost it. So basically you start here at ground zero, and guys, what we're looking at is like an X and Y axis with like a squiggly curve. And so what happens is you have like innovation, idea, and as you're building the business, you're innovative, right? You're creating new things, you're improving your product, you're making it better. And then you get to this point of like peak performance where things are just like, oh, awesome. Like we've done it. Then what starts to happen is you chase new opportunity, you chase shiny object, you get distracted, you end up like adding all these different elements to your offer and your delivery that create complication and complexity. And then you see a big dip. So then you end up realizing, okay, we need to go back to the basics. So then you go back to like refocusing on the flywheel, we call it. And then what happens is if you don't have really strong hiring and leadership principles, you end up facing a lot of turnover right here.
Yeah.
And it seems like you guys have been able to really skip these 2 parts, which is cool, because once what happens here is with that turnover, then you have to rebuild your team before you can ever get back to where you were just right here.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm actually glad you're bringing this up. This is something that even right before this call we were discussing. We do have a couple of 1099s, employees that they've given us a little bit of issue. And so April's hot-headed and she's like, all right, let's drop them. And I'm more like, wait, let's pump the brakes real quick. Let's see what's really going on. Let's dig in a little bit deeper. It turns out one is dealing with a whole lot, lawsuit and all sorts of things. And so, yeah, reading into that, you can see that where like it could be overwhelming for an employee, right? And then the other employees dealing with something similar. And so it goes down to like things like EQ, where your emotional quotient should be firing at all cylinders. And so we have to kind of go back to the basics with them and then build them back up. And I think that's where we're at, is kind of figuring out where to start plugging in our feedback, essentially. And so that's what we've been doing.
And I think there's nothing more important for you guys to be doing right now, solidifying that culture in your team, because that's the thing that maybe you keep growing, but it's like a crack that you're not aware of. And the next thing you know, it just crumbles. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because anybody listening to this who is building a team actively, one of the most powerful things you can do to just avoid the issues you just mentioned is like regular one-on-one meetings. And on those one-on-ones, just asking simple questions such as like, hey, how are you doing? Where can I help? What's keeping you up at night? And we like to ask the question around like, how's your home life? How's your personal life? If there's anything that's not going well, it's like, okay, well, let's come up with a plan together on how we can improve that by even just 1%, 2%. Because now they know you're in their corner, and you're helping to preemptively help mentor and solve things that are going to fuck you up anyways, right?
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I've started doing with, whenever we get on a call, I like to ask how you are doing twice. Because whenever you ask someone how they're doing when you're out in public, right, they're going to give you the "I'm good." That's it. The BS answer, that bullshit answer of "Yeah, I'm good," just to brush the question off, right? But the second one, I change my tone. I ask them again, "How are you really doing?" And then that's when they start opening up. That's when like you start finding out, they've broken ankle, things like that. And so you dive a little bit deeper, and sometimes, the person you're talking to even starts to cry. And it helps them kind of release those emotions, get their head back in the game.
That's powerful, man. You guys got a great thing going on. Just having that emotional IQ and knowing people is just it's a superpower. And a lot of people have to learn through trial and error over a long term, and then realize they're not good at it, so they give it up. But anyways, to kind of circle back, what would you guys say that you're most proud of in terms of the success that you've had up to this point? It could be individually, collectively. Like, what are you like, look, like this is the thing that I'm just like really proud about?
Yeah. So I think for me, having had the diagnosis of Hashimoto, struggling with thyroid problems, weight, trying everything that the internet has ever told me to do, and figuring out that it really doesn't have to be that complicated. It is complex, but it doesn't have to be that complicated or that miserable. And now empowering other women to really reclaim their energy, their vitality, their health, and even like their physique goals. That to me has been like the best, like icing on the cake. Give me more of that, please. I like to say, like old VBS songs, like I went to the enemy's camp and I took back what he stole from me. Like that's been like my mantra of like just taking back the joy that I felt like was stolen from me when I felt like I had no control over my body, and just helping other women do the same has just been like, I could ride that high like for the rest of my life, honestly, just to know that we've helped so many women at this point.
Man, I love that. That's powerful. What about you, bro?
I'd say the team. I'd say I'm super proud of our team. That's 100%. Like I know it's simple, but it speaks about myself and our ability to lead them. And so talking into them, speaking into them, and building them up to the point where they're at now is something that I'm super proud of.
Yeah, I love that, man. And that's what great leaders do. They think about like everything that happens that's good, it's credit to the team. Everything that happens that's bad, it's like, well, it's our fault. Like we fucked up, right? That's really exciting, man. So what's something that, sorry, that you guys had learned about yourself in this process? And that could be maybe about your relationship or just personally.
I think about our relationship. We like each other, I think, a lot more than we ever did before. And I know that some couples will struggle when they're at home together 24/7, but for us, it's really strengthened our marriage. But I think part of that too is because, money can't buy you happiness, but when I say we were broke, like there weren't two dimes to rub together after our bills were paid before. And so not having that financial stress, like we're just like, oh my gosh, we can actually like go out on a date. We have this is so embarrassing. Someone come fold our laundry every week. We have a house cleaner twice a week. We have meal prep. We have so many things where we just get to like enjoy each other. And
Yeah, I'd say one thing I've discovered about myself was being able to communicate a little bit better, which has obviously helped with our marriage. And so I like to even over communicate. And so I over communicate to April and then the rest of the team. It's just built, my relationship with her and the team a lot better.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you guys, do you put on different hats when you're in like business mode with each other? And like, is it kind of like an identity that you shift into and it's like, hey, we're in business. Then of course you kind of shift out of that when it's like husband-wife time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I feel like we have to, honestly. And it's like, it's not even intentional, I don't think. Like we both sit down with our laptops, and like our kids are all home because it's an ice storm right now, and we're like, we're in work mode right now. Go play, like go entertain each other for a little bit. There's 3 of y'all, but we definitely have to put on those work hats for sure. And then when the laptops are down, it's literally like a whole different dynamic throughout our entire house.
Yeah, that's amazing. Aaron and I have had to learn that too, where you just have to like shift in and out, especially now that we're learning with kids. You can't just show up in the business sense with the kids. Like they feel it, they recognize it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah. They definitely haven't seen this side of us in a while. And so since they're stuck at home with us during regular work hours, they're seeing the dynamic.
Yeah. Well, man, good for you guys, because you just think about like what an impact this is going to have on them. Just you guys being more present, the ability to be around. Not only that, I grew up in a family where my dad owned a business, and we didn't have like the best relationship, but I look back and I'm like, I almost had like an early crash course on how to run a business as like a 4-year-old. And that is, it just rubs off on you. So these kids are going to have just such an advantage.
Yeah, totally.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool guys. I guess the last thing I want to ask you is, somebody was in your guys' position, and I know your guys' position is unique, where maybe they have a specialty, they've had their own, hero's journey, right? Where their mess has become their message. They've overcome something in fitness or otherwise related, and they want to turn this into a business. Like, what kind of advice would you give them if they feel just stuck and nervous and scared,
Just do it. Like, honestly, there's on the other side of your fear, I like to say it's freedom. Like, you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to figure some things out. Like, yeah, IFCA gave us the roadmap and it was still our job to implement, but you never know unless you try. And I'm just so glad that we did. So I'm like, I can't say with any type of, I don't know, I have no apprehension. Like, you just do it. It's so worth it. Even like facing that fear of like the what if, the unknown, it's worth it. Like, you don't know if you don't try. So
yeah, I'd say along those same lines, I don't know who said it. I think I heard it from David Goggins. He said that you'll never regret doing something, but you'll always regret quitting, or regret not doing something, especially if it's your goal. And so if you're going to sit there and life's not going to change for you in 3 months from now, what's the difference of just trying to do it? Pulling that trigger.
Yeah.
Man, love it, dude. You were going to say something else?
I just want to, one more thing, if I may, but just like being a lurker for a long time. So on Instagram, like, having watched Aaron, having watched my coach, a few of the coaches that have gone through IFCA, I almost watched them with this longing of like, man, that really looks like a great life that they've got going for them. Like, they're able to do so much for their families and just really live their life to its fullest. And so if you even look at somebody, a coach online, and you're thinking that same like longing, that's your sign that you need to just take action on something, because you have enough gumption in you to really just pull the trigger.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one of the most powerful things that we've ever taken out of like masterminds. And I think especially in legacy now, when you guys get into the room, like the next retreat, it's one of the things that you end up realizing where there might be people doing more than you, but then you meet them and you're like, there's nothing like, yeah, they're smart, they're great, but like nothing that they have that I don't.
Yeah, totally.
100%.
Yeah, until you get around those people, you don't realize that. You put them on a pedestal, right? So
yeah.
Well, cool. I guess last thing that I'm just curious more personally, what's your guys like 2023 plan, right? This is also something we're going to do at the legacy retreat, is like map out the growth trajectory. Have you guys talked about that, or is that still something you're trying to figure out? Like, what do you want 2023 to look like?
Yeah. So we actually want to buy our forever home by next year. And financially for our business, we are hoping to start hitting consistent 100K months. I know in the beginning I said 80 plus K, but we actually do have a marketing strategy where we have email marketing that rolled out with a projected turn or whatever rate that people are going to sign up. So we know kind of how much income we can start generating with that. So that way I can get some passive income going. We want to do like a course also to kind of help us get there, just to leverage the rest of my audience. I do have a pretty big audience and not everybody can do one-on-one coaching. So just different ways to serve them and also generate some additional revenue. But that's kind of where we're headed, is into our forever home and with some bigger revenue goals for our business to help us get there.
Yeah, so we have this written down. So I'm looking over at it. A couple things that we're looking at for the business, specifically for Team A-Rod Fitness, is building out a course for onboarding, and then a nutrition course. And then at the same time, we'd like to start building out a podcast for this group of girls, these ladies that are dealing with hypothyroidism. And then after that, my personal goal is to start investing in real estate, and then building off of that. And I've got those broken down into quarters. And then, you know, as like a side opportunity, I'd hope that we can start investing in a brick and mortar gym. That's, you know, that's more of like a side thing. Like I'm looking for the right opportunity to come along, and see what comes of that. Outside of that, personally for us, we're just going to start, you know, certifying different things, and just, you know, kind of give ourselves a little bit more depth. Yeah, that's essentially the vision for the next year. And through that, hopefully be able to get our forever home.
Dude, you guys will, man. You know, you've already proven to yourselves that if you establish a vision and you just take crazy action, it ends up happening. And it not only ends up happening, but it ends up far exceeding what you ever expected, usually.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I'm going to share something with you guys here real quick. I don't know if Heather has shared this, but we just created a whole new model around like a group sort of downsell offer that's like low touch. I would review this if you guys get a chance, because I think it's a perfect fit for maybe a continuity part of your business. And whether you do it just like this, it should give you some ideas on maybe for the, you know, low recourse, low touch, like passive thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I just dropped that in the chat. But cool, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. Where can anybody follow you guys and kind of keep track of your journey? Where can they find you?
Yeah, we're primarily on Instagram right now, Team A-Rod Fitness. Yeah, we'd love to have more faces over there.
Yeah,
cool. We'll link that in the show notes for you guys. All right, I appreciate it, and talk to you guys soon.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.